Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm going to discuss 5 Criterion Collection films that I believe you should watch around springtime that'll get you in the mood. The first of these is a film that it's called Leave Her to Heaven, and I've talked about this film every so often. Beautiful Technicolor film with Gene Tierney in a magnificent role, based on a novel, the novel, which I've read, which is also very good. This is about Ellen and Richard Harlan. Now, the reason I recommend this for spring is that they meet on a train going to New Mexico, and they talk about, Ellen talks about how she really liked being there in the springtime and the New Mexico scenery and the warmth. If you're a national park traveler like me, you know that kind of area is really good to visit in the spring, and so I think the opening to that film is a very good way to get in the mood, oddly, for a film that becomes incredibly dark, because Ellen, in this marriage to her husband, becomes incredibly obsessive. I recently watched Fatal Attraction, the Michael Douglas picture, and there might be a few similarities there. But this is a terrifically beautiful Technicolor film. You absolutely have to see it, and one of my favorites from that year. So I like to mention it here just because, you know, all the gorgeous New Mexico scenery. Now, along those lines, another place that I think that I have always wanted to get out to the saguaros in the spring. I'm hoping to be able to do that. And I love road tripping in the spring. There's nothing like it. You can sleep in the vehicle comfortably. Or in my case, I have a little spot I can sleep in mine. And how about a movie that's about hitchhiking from New York to LA? That sounds like springtime to me. This is a film that some of you actually recommended to me, and I love this. I might even go watch this again. I think I've seen it 2 or 3 times. This is called Detour, a low-budget film about a guy playing at a nightclub, and he ends up, for different reasons, needing to go to LA. And in the process of hitchhiking, he does go through all this Arizona road trip and desert. You know, it feels like spring to me. I have no idea what actual season it is, but it just has that feeling. And Savage is often talked about in this film as being one of the ultimate femme fatales, and I just mentioned Fatal Attraction there that's not in the collection, with Glenn Close, of course, doing a good job there as well. So it's funny how these things all run together in your mind. But Detour, look at those Joshua trees. You have to let me know if you've ever been to Death Valley or Joshua Tree or any of that area. I know I'm covering a large geographical area there, but I don't know. This just makes me want to get out and go on a spring road trip. Now, a film that I picked here just because I associate this film with spring, because that was the first time I watched Barry Lyndon. This was, whenever COVID was kind of starting years ago. It was my first experience with Barry Lyndon, and I watched it a few times around the springtime, so I can't separate Barry Lyndon from springtime, and maybe I'll watch it again. I don't know. It's been a few years. If you haven't seen Barry Lyndon and you're turned off to the idea of Stanley Kubrick's very long period piece, you might think it's just another costume drama with pretty candles and good lighting. That's not the case. This is one of the best, at times, dark comedies, one of the most beautiful motion pictures ever made. Everything's a painting in it. And it follows the life of a character played by Ryan O'Neal, who is extremely opportunistic, but also unfortunate and unfortunate. He goes from, on the back it talks about, he goes from an Irish farm to some battlefields to the parlors of high society, a sardonic, devastating portrait of a vanishing world whose opulence conceals the moral vacancy at its heart. This is one of the really stunning pictures. If you ask me, Stanley Kubrick, you could name any number of his films as being your favorite. Sometimes Barry Lyndon's my favorite. Sometimes it's The Shining. There are times it's been 2001, Paths of Glory. He's just such a good filmmaker. I really encourage you, if you have not taken the time to watch Barry Lyndon because you're worried about that length, get on it really instantly. And some of the lush scenery will get that spring going in your heart, that Irish music. It's beautiful stuff. I will warn you, though, it gets really sad. All right, a couple other spring choices. And, I like a good action movie in the springtime. You're getting out. If you're like me, you try to get to jogging again. Now, I am nowhere near in the kind of shape I need to be right now. But I'm always, thinking, okay, it's warming up. It's getting into hiking season. I really want to get the heart rate up, and I don't know. There's just something about a good action movie that helps you with that. And so I was thinking of one that I watched a little while back. It's kind of newer to the collection, called Eastern Condors. And if you are into kung fu movies, I really recommend you see this. So Sammo Hung, actor director here. This is a film that is being compared here on the back to something like Dirty Dozen, Secret Suicide Mission, Vietnam. Lots and lots of gunfighting, a little bit of hand-to-hand combat, a really good enemy at the end. And I talked about this in my review whenever this first came out, but I've always been partial to Sammo Hung in the Ip Man series. In Ip Man 2, alongside Donnie Yen, they had a really good fight in that film. The fight on the table. If you remember that fight, that was Sammo Hung. And this is a really good one from the collection. They're clocking 1987 at 98 minutes. 1987 was also the year that Fatal Attraction came out. It's funny because I keep talking about Fatal Attraction, but there's the bunny rabbit. Late Spring tells the story of a widowed father who feels compelled by custom and just practicality to marry off his youngest daughter. This is the pairing of the legendary Shisha Ryu and Setsuko Hara, two of our great all-time actors. Setsuko Hara is my favorite all-time actress. Maybe, I don't know, Gina Rollins is great, Meryl Streep, there's so many good ones, but this film really captures the family dynamics that Ozu constantly mastered. I really feel like this might be my favorite sometimes. Sometimes I look back and I'll be like, hey, maybe it's Floating Weeds, Tokyo Story. I don't know, they're all so good. If you have not taken the time to see Late Spring, I just wanted to make sure I mentioned this here in my spring videos because it's a phenomenal piece of filmmaking. There's a 92-minute documentary in here, by the way, from Wim Wenders about the film. So those are just some of my recommendations. If you like the video today and you want to click like, that will help the channel. Let me know what you would like to watch in the spring, and we'll see you next time on Cody in the Cinema.